Hey guys, LockyPocky Reviews back again, and today I'm going to be doing something kind of similar to what I did with Spider-Man No Way Home and Encanto, which yes, I actually learned how to say correctly, yay for me. But basically what I'm going to do is just kind of do a review of two movies just back to back, and with these movies I don't have a ton to say about them, so they're probably going to be very just short little mini reviews, but I'll just kind of get across my thoughts and yeah, we'll just get straight into it. So the first movie that I'm going to talk about is the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie. And just for a bit of context, no, I have not seen the show that this is based on. Although from what I understand, this has literally nothing to do with the show at all, aside from like a couple little references here and there. So I don't think you don't need to see the show in order to watch it. It's like whatever. Um, and instead of again kind of doing that sort of thing, it instead is kind of more of just an IP um crossover type movie where there's just a bunch of like these popular characters you've seen in other movies and shows just kind of shoved in, which I guess is kind of a trend it's been around for a lot recently, with but I mean, a lot of people say like it started off with something with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and, then you've had films like, Wreck-It Ralph and the Lego movie that have kind of done it as well more recently. Um, but I think the reason that those movies, were big hits and big successes and really work, is because even though there is a ton of those, IPs and stuff like that in the story, thrown in as like little cameos or whatever, the main focus of the stories that they're telling are usually on, original characters with their own, you know, stories and plots and whatever. And so even if you, for whatever reason, didn't know the IP characters, like you in saying like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you've never seen like a cartoon or whatever, like the Looney Tunes cartoons or the old Disney cartoons, you still have, you still have Eddie Valiant, you still have Roger Rabbit. You can follow through in that story of them trying to find out who murdered Marvin Acme or whatever. And same goes for Wreck-It Ralph, obviously Ralph Vanellope, Fix-It Felix, oh, the rough commander chick, I can't remember her name now. And same with the Lego Movie 2 with like Emmett and the one that's voiced by Morgan Freeman, I can't remember the name, sorry. Or Wildstar, like all of those are just kind of, they're original characters and they have their own story. And that's kind of what helps those, I feel like what helps those movies stand on their own. And I'd argue, and that's kind of the problem I feel like with the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movies, that I feel like even though it has a lot of creative ideas, I actually think the way that it sort of intertwines the just these cameo sort of things, the way that it intertwines it with the actual story is actually pretty clever. And it is kind of following the rules of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's basically humans and cartoons coexist, and the cartoon characters are basically like actors. They they have their roles in their own shows and movies and stuff like that, and and that's a really interesting idea. And there's also, it kind of, has a lot of different animation styles. So you have, obviously hand-drawn animation, computer animation, and there's a bit of stop motion animation in there. There's even that weird, like the weird Robert Zemeckis, like, motion capture animation, like stuff like from, like, Polar Express and stuff like that is in there. And they make, like, some funny jokes about that, which I thought was really good. Like, it's such an, these are all, like, really interesting ideas, and I think, like, the way that it, like, the world building and stuff, I think, like, all of the ideas it has are interesting ideas, but the problem with the movie, at least for me, was that the main characters themselves were also IP characters. They were characters from another show, of the Chippendale show, obviously, and even if you took that out of it, they aren't. I didn't find them that interesting as like leading characters we were following through in the story. I thought they were just kind of okay. Um, Although I think John Mulaney as his performance as Chip, I think that's the right one. I hope. I thought was alright. Like he's kind of like the cynical side character, but then you have Andy Samberg as just kind of the goofy character, and it's fine, it's alright. I just wasn't a huge fan of that, but whatever. Um, but yeah, it's like, it is one of those movies where it's like, it has a lot of interesting ideas, but I think just kind of the main characters, I just didn't get why you needed to have Chip and Dale as the main characters. And a lot of people have said that. And the main story is, again, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Someone gets captured or murdered, whatever, and they have to find out who did it. It's like, okay. And, there's some, like, silly kid jokes in there and some stuff that's kind of just like, whatever. But there's still some funny jokes. I laughed at a couple times here and there. So it's like, it's an alright movie. Um, I don't know. It's fine, but yeah, it's like, I think if the movie had just made up their own original characters as like the main lead, and we were just following their story, and they made them kind of like really interesting, I feel like this could have been a really solid movie, but it's alright, it's fine. Overall, I'm going to give Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers the movie a 5 out of 10. The second movie that I'm going to quickly talk about is Top Gun Maverick, which is obviously the sequel to the original Top Gun. And just kind of quick thoughts. Again, the first Top Gun, I think, is like a pretty fun movie. It is very cheesy, kind of 80s action sort of, blockbuster type stuff, but I think it's charming enough. I do kind of like that 80s cheese a little bit. And it has a lot of, those great 80s character actors in there too. And so, like, overall, I think it's a fun piece of, popcorn type movie. Like I said, I think it's a good movie. And as for this one, again, I think is just kind of, I guess my expectations were not super high because I just didn't really see the point in making a sequel to Top Gun, of all things. But I thought it was okay. I thought there were a couple things that I thought were interesting. I do like there is kind of like this main mission that they're trying to achieve in the story, which was something different, and that was interesting. I liked all of that stuff. And I don't think this is really giving anything away, but basically, one of the pilot people that one of the pilots or whatever in the movie is the like son of Goose from the first movie, and there is kind of, this tension between him and Maverick because of what happened in the first movie, and that stuff was done, like, there wasn't, I kind of feel like they didn't really develop it as much as I would have liked, but the few scenes that they have together I thought were good, and effective. There's a really nice scene as well with, Val Kilmer, or Iceman, I should say, as well, and even though Val Kilmer, I think he has this disease basically where he can't speak, but yeah, so he's kind of just typing on a laptop. But there is one bit where he does actually speak, and it was really effective as well. And yeah, and even the acting from Cruise, I thought in that scene was really good as well. So it's like there's definitely a lot of like some good solid scenes. But for me, I guess the big problem I had with the movie is, like I said, first of all, I just didn't see the point in making a sequel to Top Gun. It's like, okay, I guess, whatever. And there is a lot, at least for me, there is a lot of repeating. Like, literally when the movie opens, it basically just starts off with, like, the same opening title sequence and, like, opening scene as the first movie. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what is happening, like, right now? And then you have a scene where Maverick is, in some... And, like, I should say, sorry, like, in the first movie it made sense, because that, like, the place where they're, like, the plane's, like, landing and going off is where Maverick is, or whatever, so it's, like, establishing, like, okay, like, this is, like, this air-based thing, what, like, Navy-based thing, and, oh, Maverick's here as well. Okay, that makes sense. But in this one, it's just, like, oh, we're in the same location again, but it's, like, all moderned up, obviously, it's, like, shot now type thing. And then it just cuts to some other location that Maverick's in. It's like, so there's literally no reason for you to open the way that it does, and has, like, the danger zone song again, which is, like, okay, whatever. And then, like, yeah, you cut to then Maverick, who's doing something, and he's in this plane, and of course he does something stupid, and wrecks the equipment and gets yelled at by a general again. That was in the first one. Then he goes to the Top Gun place, and then you have the bar scene where he talks to some woman and they builds a relationship again. All just like dot points that the first movie did, and I don't know, for me it just really bothered me because I was just constantly thinking to myself, it just is just repeating itself. And and half the time it didn't make sense. Like I said, with the whole opening thing, that didn't make sense. Or the fact that when, like, Maverick comes back to the base, it's kind of this thing, like, when he's invited back to Top Gun in this one, he's kind of like, he doesn't really know what's going on, and yet, when he arrives, he's, like, smiling and being all, like, cheery when he gets there, which is kind of like, in the first one it made sense, because it's like, oh, like, it's the top school, and he's going there, and gonna be, trained up with the best of the best. But in this one, he doesn't know why he's there, and he's still the same reaction. It's like, and just because we want to recreate that same scene from the first film. So I don't know. I'm probably just complaining about some stupid shit, but it just bothered me because I was just constantly asking myself, this is just the exact same thing for like at least the first half of the movie. The second half, I think it kind of starts to go in a bit more of a different direction. Even though there's some stupid stuff there, but at least it's different. But yeah, overall, I just thought, for what it was, I thought it was okay, and like, I don't know, like, I know there's, like, apparently the critics and audiences are getting, like, really, like, in love with this movie, which I don't get. I'm, like, awesome that people are liking it and saying it's amazing. I just don't understand why. But whatever, like, I'm not gonna, act like, I'm not gonna act like, oh, well, they can't like it. It's like, if you like it, you like it. You think this is, like, the best movie you've seen this year, whatever, that's totally plausible. But, I don't know, I just thought it was an alright movie, and maybe just because my expectations were just so low, I just wasn't expecting much, and I thought, like, it was okay, it was fine, but I just didn't really see the point in it, I guess. I don't know. But it was alright. Overall, I'm gonna give Top Gun Maverick a 5 out of 10. But yeah, that's pretty much about it. Probably went a little bit longer than I expected originally, but like, whatever. And yeah, but that's like pretty much my thoughts on those movies, and let me know what you thought in the comments or whatever, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.